وقل رب زدني علما.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I welcome everyone in another class, Alhamdulillah, in this blessed course, the Quran reading course. And this is the 6th lesson. And I know there's some discrepancy with the numbering lately, because I decided to renumber things to exclude the workshops and the revision sessions. So based on that, this is the 6th lesson, inshallah ta'ala. And today we will be talking about the opposite of vowels. So last lesson we talked about vowels, and today we're going to talk about the opposite of vowels, inshallah. So today we're going to be talking about what in Arabic is called As-Sukuun. And Sukoon is basically the opposite of Al-Harakat, which is what we done last lesson. Okay? And normally we do ask a few questions, quick revision questions at the beginning of every class, but not today, inshallah. And mainly because I found that, mashallah, last lesson, the short vowels, they're generally speaking one of the most easiest chapters. And from the feedback I've got, everyone has done very well, especially in the workshops last week. So let's go straight on to today's chapter. But I will ask a few questions before we start, just to get the motor started, inshallah, the brain. So everyone should go into WooClap and just answer these questions. Okay, that's the first question. What's the difference between a letter sound and a letter's name? So we know letters have sounds, they have names. What's the difference? Just mention any difference that comes to your mind. Okay, we got a few answers here. The pronunciation, shapes, which harakat is used. Okay, carry on. Anyone else? The name is spelled by multiple letters. It's the name of the sound. Name is for identification, but sound is for pronunciation. MashaAllah. Brilliant, brilliant answer. So let me share. Yeah, these are the answers basically. Now this answer is brilliant. Name is for identification, but sound is for pronunciation. I couldn't have put it better myself. All right. So the names of the letters is what we use to identify the letters. So Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, this is to identify the letter. Okay. Whereas the letter sound is what we pronounce when we're reading. Okay. And to give you a tangible example is the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah and many different surah. We mentioned Huruf al-Muqatta'ah, those surahs that start with letters. Okay, there we pronounce their names. We say Alif, Lam, Mim. These are the letter names, not the sounds they make. Okay, here we're pronouncing the letter names. The letter sound is what we pronounce when we say ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. ذ, with a fatha, ذال fatha, ذ. So last lesson, when we did the workshop, we said, for example, qaf fatha, qa. Okay, ra fatha, ra. Hamza fatha, a. Or kaf kasra, ki. All right. So the first thing we say, kaf, that's the red letter's name. Fatha is the name of that diacritic, that haraka. It's called fatha. But what sound does it make? Ka. Okay. Ra, that's the name. Kasra, that's the name. What sound does it make? Ri. Ra, kasra, ri. And so on and so forth. Right. Perfect. Okay, next question. When we read, which do we pronounce first? The consonant or the vowel? So imagine you have a word in front of you. Think of whatever word you like. Okay? Kharaja. Shariba. Okay? Sheen, fatha, whatever. Now, what do you pronounce first? The consonant or the vowel? consonant. Someone said both at the same time. Okay. Okay, seems like no one is saying vowel. So we have consonant and both at the same time. Someone said depends on the word. Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, good. Now the answer is if that letter consists of a consonant and a vowel, it's a vowel letter, then the consonant comes before the vowel. So when we say kharaja, kharaja, and inshallah when we watch the video going forward, you'll see what I mean. If you are confused by this, just think about the way you would have spelled it in English. So for example, if we say the word qara'a, which means to read, or the word, for example, an easy word such as shariba, right? Then, or any other word like kataba. Kataba is a good word, kataba. So kataba, how would you write it in English? You'd write the consonant first and then the vowel. Then ta, consonant first and then the vowel. Okay, so the consonant comes first. Perfect. Okay, another question. How do we know a letter in the Arabic language is unvoweled? For those of you that know, right? How do we know a letter is unvoweled? In other words, how do we know it doesn't have a vowel? How do we know it's a consonant? Right? Because last lesson in the workshop, everything that we did, they were all voweled letters, right? So you had a consonant and a vowel, and then we said it. But when it's a consonant and it doesn't have a vowel, how do we know that in Arabic? How do we know that a letter is not voweled? How do we know that it doesn't have fatha, kasra, dhamma? How do we know a letter doesn't have fatha, kasra, dhamma? Okay, that's basically the question. There's a technical way to answer it. There's an obvious way to answer it. Try to answer both. Try to answer it in the technical way. I'm sure most of you answered it that way. And also in the obvious way. So let's check some of the answers. Okay. It says sukoon or lack of a vowel. Okay. MashaAllah. Perfect. We have if there's no harakat on it. Yes. Okay. Which is the same as what we said. What did we say earlier? If sukoon or lack of a vowel, يعني no harakat. It's the same thing. Okay. It will have a sukoon. So it will have a sukoon. That's the it will have a sukoon. That's the technical way to answer it. It's going to have a sukoon, right? And those of you that don't know, you'll get to know what sukoon is in a moment. But the obvious way to answer it is, when I say to you, how do we know that a letter doesn't have fatha, kasra, dhamma? Then obviously the answer is if it doesn't have fatha, kasra, dhamma, right? That's the obvious way. And both ways will help us when it comes to reading Arabic. Okay? Right, perfect. Okay. So when we read, do we do so letter by letter? There's another question. So when we read, do we do so letter by letter? So what I mean by letter, I don't mean the actual consonant only, right? The consonant along with this vowel, right? So kha, ra, ja. Is that how we always read? One consonant, one vowel, one consonant, one vowel, like that, like one letter along with the diacritic. So when we read, is it always like one letter and diacritic? We go forward. How do we read? When we read, do we read letter by letter? Is that how reading happens? That's the question, basically. And this question, it applies to, that's the question, not just specifically to Arabic, even English as well. Even English as well. Do we read letter by letter? Now, some of you said yes. Some of you said no. Some said no, you read it all together. What do you mean you read it all together? As in the whole word? When we read, we have to read the whole word. We can't read it letter by letter. Is that what you mean? Someone said not always. Okay, someone said word by word directly. And someone said we read together. Yeah, we read together. I know, the consonant and the vowel. Yes, I don't mean that. So when we read them together, we say ka, ta, ba. Is that how we read? Ka, ta, ba. Always. Is that how we always read? One consonant and a vowel, one consonant and a vowel, one consonant and a vowel. Now, the correct answer is not here yet. Now, one person did mention a very good point, right? Which is we need to check if it's allowed or grouped with some letters, like the ya to extend the sound. So in other words, we do need to look a little bit forward, yes, because if it has something that would extend the sound, then obviously we don't want to stop before that because we need to extend the sound. That same fatha, we're going to need to extend it. So we're going to need to include the letter that's going to allow us to do that for those of you that know med, right? That's a good answer as well. But no one has so far read letter, diacritic. That's how we read. So letter, diacritic. So harf, or the letter and the fatha, or the letter and the kasra together. That's how we read. That's what one person said as well. One person said, no, we don't read letter by letter, which is the correct answer. But how do we read then? We do not read letter by letter, right? Now, like I said, it's not specific to the Arabic language. So I'm going to give you the answer soon. When I explain, you'll find out the answer. Okay, I won't torture you. I'll tell you now what the answer is. We don't read letter by letter. We read syllable by syllable. That's in English, in Arabic, in every language in the world. Yes? The smallest unit of sound is a syllable, not a letter. All right? Even if it has a vowel, even if it's a vowel letter, that's not the smallest unit of sound. The smallest unit of sound is a syllable. And we'll explain what that means, inshallah ta'ala. But it's really important. It's really important. We'll get to that, inshallah. Okay. So now we're going to watch the whiteboard videos. I'm going to explain everything, inshallah, and then we get to practice. What we'll do is, inshallah, we'll go on to watch the video. Let me fire it up 1 second. So the first video we're going to watch is about the sukoon. So we're going to watch 2 videos today, or I'm going to explain 2 concepts today. The first concept is the concept of sukoon. All right. Start with that first. Okay. So unvoweled letters. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. I'm assuming you don't know yet what sukoon means, right? So last week or last lesson, we talked about voweled letters. We've done the letters. Then we started with voweled letters. We talked about how letters can have vowels. However, letters are not always voweled. Sometimes they don't have a vowel. That's what we call unvoweled letters. Okay, right. Let's use the exact same example as we did last time. Okay, when we did the voweled letters. So here we have a voweled, here we have a word with 3 letters that are all voweled. In other words, every letter has a vowel. So we have the kaf over here with a dhamma, kaf, dhamma, ku. We have a ta with kasra, ti. We have a ba with fatha, ba, which gives us ku-ti-ba. Altogether, kutiba. Perfect. Okay, that's when they are all voweled. And this is how we write it in English. If we were to write it in English, so as we mentioned earlier, consonant first, then the vowel. Consonant, vowel. Consonant, vowel. Okay? But we can consider ku to be just 1 letter in Arabic, because in Arabic, this vowel is part of the letter, if you like. Okay, it's just a diacritic on top of the letter. Okay, perfect. So we have kutiba. Now, what if we got rid of the last vowel, which we just did, right? So we got rid of it. So how would we read it then? Now, don't look at the English down there. Try and think of it. How would we read it now? Yes, we would say kutib. Kutib, right? So this one is a vowel letter. The kaf with dhamma, we call it a vowel letter. The ba at the end, we call it an unvoweled letter. Okay, so we have both. We have some letters that are voweled and some letters that are unvoweled. Okay, so here we have kutib. How would we read this? Kutib. The ba at the end does not have a vowel. Okay, perfect. So based on that, a letter can be, either it can be voweled, obviously, or it can be what? Unvoweled. So we have those 2 types of letters. So every letter in the Arabic language, whenever you're reading something, whatever letter you come across is either going to be voweled or it's going to be unvoweled. One of the 2. And they have different rulings, and we deal with them in different ways. Okay, so the definition of unvoweled letter, or the definition for voweled letter, is that it has a haraka. Okay, any of the three harakas that we learned about. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. Unvoweled letter doesn't have a haraka. Simple as. Right? It's not rocket science. Pretty straightforward. Okay. How about its pronunciation? Now, the voweled letter, we say the letter sound plus a vowel. The letter sound, and then we add a vowel. So we have seen, fatha. Of course, we don't read like that. That's just the first stage, and to explain to you. But we say the letter sound, which is s. Okay, that's the seen, s. And the vowel, which is the fatha, the a. And together they give us sa, sa. So letter sound plus vowel. If you wrote it in English, then it would be S-A, pronounced as S-A, sa. Okay, that's the vowel letter. So this seen and fatha together, it's considered to be one letter, right? It's called a vowel letter because the vowels, like we said many times in Arabic, the vowels are not considered to be letters. So this is just a vowel letter, right? Whereas in English, obviously, we see two letters, but ignore that, please. Then we come on to the unvoweled letters. What do we have when it comes to the unvoweled letters? How do we pronounce it? The letter sound only. Okay, so no vowel after the letter sound. Okay, but not the letter name, not the letter's name. Huh? When we say letter sound only, it doesn't mean you say seen. No, s. Okay, just the phoneme, what we call the phoneme, s, the sound that it makes. Type pronounced as s. Okay, okay, so good so far. Now, next question: what are its markers? In other words, how do I know a letter is voweled or unvoweled? How do I know? What tells me? What is markers? Yes, we know that the markers for voweled letters that we've learned so far, fatha, kasra, dhamma. Okay, those are the markers for voweled letters. Sah? Good. But what are the markers for unvoweled letters, which I asked earlier in WooClap, right? Let's ask a question first, which we asked in WooClap a minute ago. How do you know if a letter is unvoweled? How do you know a letter is unvoweled? And what did we say? We said there's two ways to answer it: the logical way and the technical way, right? The logical way, let's start with the logical way. If it lacks a haraka, it's unvoweled. Pretty straightforward, right? How do we know if a letter is unvoweled? Unvoweled, i.e. does not have a vowel. So if it doesn't have a vowel, it doesn't have a haraka, it is unvoweled. Straightforward. So the first marker, or the first thing that tells us if a letter is unvoweled, is the absence of haraka. If there's no haraka, it is unvoweled. And this is very important to know, because after we introduce the technical way, some of you will start to look out for the As-Sukuun sign everywhere you go. La, don't look for the Sukuun sign. By default, if it doesn't have Fatha, Kasr, Dhamma, it has Sukuun, right? So the Sukuun is there by default, okay? But we also have what we call a Sukuun sign. There's also a sign, a marker that you'll find in the Quran, which tells you when a letter has a Sukoon or when a letter is not voweled, when it is unvoweled. That's why we call it Sukoon sign. And it looks like this. Yes, it doesn't look like a circle. I do know some fonts or in some books, the Sukoon sign looks like a circle, right? But that's in the modern standard Arabic, not in the Quran. In the Quran, the Sukoon sign looks like a semicircle, almost like a ha with no tail, right? That's how it looks like. And the actual circle is reserved for something else, which we'll do later. Okay, so this is very important for you to know the Sukoon sign. Again, a letter is unvoweled if it either has a Sukoon sign or if it doesn't, as long as it doesn't have Fatha, Kasra, or Dhamma. Okay, so why do sometimes some words have the Sukoon sign? Why sometimes they don't? Is it something very arbitrary depending on how energetic the writer is feeling or how much he's bothered? No. That Sukoon sign, it serves a purpose. That sign, when they actually put it there, it serves a purpose, but it serves a purpose when it comes to the science of Tajweed. The science of Tajweed, that Sukoon sign, serves a purpose. All right? Which we'll get to, inshallah, once we start the Tajweed course. Okay? So that Sukoon sign tells us something. But it tells us something that's beyond the minimum required for reading, which is what we're learning here today. Okay? طيب. Now, let's take a word and practice with it. This word, you're all familiar with it. Waswasa. Right? Surah An-Nas. من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس. We seek Allah's refuge from the one that whispers, right? Waswasa means to whisper, right? So here we have the word waswasa, and I chose this word in particular for a reason, mainly because, as you can see, it's basically a perfect contrast between voweled and unvoweled letters, because everything else is the same apart from a vowel that's missing here. All right, and that's what tells us that the scene is unvoweled. Why is it unvoweled? Because the vowel is missing. So we'll find that on this side we have unvoweled. On this side we have a voweled scene. Unvoweled scene, voweled scene. Okay, so wasa. But we could also write the sukoon sign if we want. So the first one, absence of haraka, which we've just seen, or we can also just write the sukoon sign to show that that scene doesn't have a haraka, right? But either way, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, either way, it doesn't make a difference. And that's basically our video on sukoon. Okay, that's our video on sukoon. Okay, all right, let's watch the next video then. So this video, inshallah, this video today, or this video watching now, it's about partitioning and syllables. So we just touched on syllables earlier, but now I'll explain in more detail what we meant by syllables, as in we read syllable by syllable. So just pay attention to this sentence over here, right? So we would say wow fatha wa, nun fatha na. Okay, let's just read it the way we would have read it naturally, right? So we say wa na sa tu. Okay, let's read it. So wa na sa. No, there's a problem there. Do you notice that? Doesn't sound right, does it? To say wa na sa. Does that sound right? It doesn't sound right. Okay, there's a problem here. What's the problem? The problem basically is that the ha is an unvoweled letter. Okay, and you can't pronounce an unvoweled letter by itself. You can't. Every single letter needs a vowel, one way or another. Okay, so what's the solution? What's the solution? Are we just gonna donate a vowel here, give it a fatha kasra dhamma from our pockets? No. Instead, the letter before that is gonna do that. So what we do here is we're gonna share this vowel between these two letters. We're gonna share it. Okay, so we're not gonna say sa. No, we're gonna share it. We're gonna say sah. Okay, we're gonna say sah. We're gonna share this vowel between both letters. Why? Because ha is an unvoweled letter. You can't pronounce it by itself. Okay, sah, and then tu. So this is what we mean by partitioning. Partitioning. In other words, right? We don't read letter by letter. We read syllable by syllable. These are what we call syllables. Now, a syllable, it could consist of just one letter. Yani it could consist of just a consonant and a vowel. Well, would be in Arabic one letter. In English would be two letters. But that's okay. We can say wa, na. It's no problem. Wa, na. But we can't say sa. Okay. Why can't we say sa? Because this ha is in need of a vowel as well. So we need to join it. Sah. We need to join this fatha onto the ha. Okay. And the reason why this is so important is that a lot of people, this is how they read. They say wa, na, sa, sah. Okay. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Tell me. Just write it in the Zoom chat. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying wa, na, sa, sah, tu? What's wrong with that? Wa, na, sa, and then go back. Sah, join it, and tu. We know it's wrong to say wa, na, sa, tu. We can't do that. We know. That's why a lot of people, what they do is they say wa, na, sa, sah, tu. What's wrong with that? Yeah, other meaning. Adding an extra sad. Yes, exactly. So when we say wa, na, sa, صح. We added an extra sa. That first sa, which you went back to correct, it's an extra letter now that you've added to the word, right? So that's why going forward, from this point onwards, you are not going to say a letter before you look at what comes after it. The days and the luxury of just looking at the letter and then the vowel and then saying it, those days are gone. Yes, those days are gone. Going forward, you are going to have to look what comes after the letter before you say it. Because what comes after the letter could be another letter who's in need of a vowel, in which case you're going to have to join it, in which case the syllable consists of a consonant, vowel, consonant. It's not just a consonant vowel syllable. No, it's a consonant vowel consonant syllable. So you're going to have to join it, right? And the vowel is going to be in the middle. صح? So this is really, really important. Okay? So for example, if your name is, let's say, Muhammad, yes, you wouldn't want people to call you Muhammad. Okay? Ridiculous. Okay? So you would want people to call you Muhammad. Even if they're going to talk slowly, they should say Muhammad, right? So again, we read in syllables, we don't read letter by letter. How do you know where the syllable ends? How do you know what a syllable is? That's pretty straightforward. We'll explain that. Okay? Let's continue. So, وَنَا صَحْتُ. So the rule is basically a letter with a sukoon can't be pronounced by itself. Okay, that's the rule. So a letter with sukoon cannot be pronounced by itself. Going back to the rule again. A letter with a sukoon can't be pronounced by itself. So this ha over here that is unvoweled, you can't pronounce it by itself. Rather, you need to join the previous haraka to it. And this is a rule that is so important. It's going to be with you until the end of the course. And a lot of the rules, phonological rules that we learn are because of this. Okay, now, why is that the case? Okay, let's look at it, why that's the case from a technical perspective, right? We have what we call mutaharrik letters. Mutaharrik letters, that basically means voweled letters, right? Because mutaharrik stands for haraka. So in Arabic, remember in the previous video, we said that we have either voweled letters or unvoweled letters. Now, the voweled letters in Arabic, they're called mutaharrik letters. In other words, letters with haraka. Letters with what? With haraka. Now, what does haraka mean? I think I'm going to ask that question in WooClap. What does haraka mean? What is haraka? Right, so when we say a letter with haraka, what does haraka mean anyway? In Arabic, I mean, technically, يعني, where did this word come from? Haraka. Linguistically, what does haraka mean? Okay, so that you find it on WooClap. What does haraka mean linguistically for those of you that know? Okay, so here in the video, it says haraka on letter. Mutaharrik letters means a letter with haraka, or there's a haraka on the letter, okay? But what does haraka mean? That word itself. Movement, vowel, short vowel, diacritic, motion. Okay, now, yes, technically it means short vowel. We've learned that. But what does it mean linguistically? Linguistically, it means motion. Or, like some of you said, movement. صح? طيب. أحسنت. Okay, so if haraka means movement or motion, yes, you can see it coming, right? What does sukoon mean? And what I mean by this is linguistically, huh? What does sukoon mean linguistically? Don't say to me sukoon means no vowel. Don't say to me sukoon means unvoweled. لا. What does it mean linguistically? Sukoon. Okay? It means stop, to join, silent, to hide, to stop, no motion. Yeah, so mashallah, not sure if that person actually knew it or they guessed it. No motion. So if haraka means motion, movement, sukoon means no motion. In other words, rest or stop, no movement. That's what sukoon means. Okay? And the reason I want to bring this up is because you see how genius they are the people who gave these things these names. Absolutely genius. Allahumma barik. So you'll find that in Arabic, whenever you learn even Islamic studies, Islamic sciences, they were very precise back then when they gave names to things. Their technical names were very precise. Really something that goes to the essence of it, right? And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So haraka on letter means what? It means motion, right? We learned that so far. Okay. So what does sakin letter mean? So a sakin letter is basically sukoon on the letter, literally, and sukoon stands for rest. Okay, so sukoon stands for rest. Okay, so based on this, we can conclude something, right? Based on this, we can conclude something. Who thinks they know? Obviously, not from my previous students, those that have studied with me before. You can type if you like as a revision, but I really want to see if some of you can conclude something for that. So what can we conclude from this when it comes to the way you read? Yes? Okay, when it comes to the way you read, what can we conclude from this? So before you answer, let me explain one more time, right? We said mutaharrik means haraka, motion. Letter has haraka, motion. Sakin means rest, to stop, right? So based on these names that they've given, yes, to these two types of letters, voweled and unvoweled letters, yes, when it comes to you reading, what conclusion can you come to based on that? All right, what conclusion can you come to? Okay. The sound is muted. You read from stop to stop. MashaAllah. Yes, I like that. Okay. Or from motion to stop. Okay. Who else? You know, what can you conclude from this? When haraka means motion, sukoon means rest or stop, what can you conclude from this? We stop with sukoon. Okay. Okay, good as well. Okay. All right. Now, this is how I've put it, right? This is how I'll put it, right? Based on this, and we've done so far, we can say or we can conclude that so until you reach a place of sukoon, you have to keep up the haraka. All right. So until you reach a place of sukoon, you have to keep up the haraka. In other words, until you reach a place of rest, you have to keep up the motion. In other words, when you're reading, don't read that vowel letter by itself because the vowel is saying to you motion, keep on moving, look forward, right? So when you look forward, you're either going to see another consonant, yes, that has its own vowel, in which case you stop, right? Or you're going to see a consonant that is in need, a consonant that doesn't have a vowel, and then you join it. And then you can stop there. You can rest when you get to the sukoon. Okay? Now, to show you a visual representation of that, all right, let's look at this word, yasta'jil. Yasta'jil. Okay, now these sukoon letters, what did we say? Sukoon stands for rest, for stopping, right? Okay, so let's change the signs then. Let's put some stop signs instead, right? So we have this word over here, and then we have 3 stop signs. So these stop signs, they stand for sukoon. That's where you stop, right? So how would we read? This is how we would read. We would say, read with me, with yourself. Yes. Okay, so that's the first syllable. Ta. Okay, that's the second syllable. And then the third syllable, jil. All right, make sense? So yes, ta, jil. Okay, so don't say ya, yes, ta, jil. No, you can't read like that. Instead, before you say ya, before you open your mouth, before you pronounce, you have to look. Can I stop here? Okay, you know, is there another letter after it? Is there a letter here after me that has a stop sign where I can stop? Is there a letter after me that has a sukoon? Because if it does, then that's where I should rest. That's where I should come to a stop. Yes, ta'jil. Okay, that's how it should be done, right? But now we're going to show you an example of how it shouldn't be done, right? An example of how it shouldn't be done. So imagine we have another word, as-takbarta. Let's do the same things, get rid of the sukoon signs and put stop signs instead. And let's look at this guy who's going to drive and he's going to break some of the rules, right? So as you can see, he's speeding, as, and he goes on to tak, And then, oh, you see what happened? What happened here? He didn't stop here. Okay? So what happened? He got in trouble. Right? Same thing with you. If you don't stop at the sukoon sign, you're going to get in trouble. Right? So if you're going to rest, if you're going to stop, you stop by the sukoon. So in other words, the takeaway really here is that when you're reading, right? Yes, you're going to have to look forward. You're going to have to do what? You're going to have to look forward. You're going to have to look forward and see if there's a stopping place, a resting place ahead. Okay? If there's a sukoon ahead where you can join the vowel to, right? I know this might sound obvious to some of you, but the reality is that, and you'll come to know when you're reading or when we do some practice, people make a lot of mistakes here because they're really used to reading letter by letter. Okay? But that shouldn't be the case. Right? All right. Yeah, so the last word I said, as-takbarta. As-takbarta. That's how the last word was. But no problem, because now, inshallah, we're going to do. No problem, because now we're going to do tons of practice, inshallah. Okay. طيب. So that was the videos. Those were the videos, right? Okay. Now, this is a little bit technical, right? But actually, before we get to the technical part, let's do some practice. Let's do some practice. Okay. If you go back to WooClap, inshallah, these questions, basically the way they work is, how many syllables does this word have? Okay. You can have 40 seconds, quite long, right? And you're going to look at the word and you're going to count the amount of syllables within the word. And then you're going to answer and choose the correct one. Okay. This is the best way I could find for us to actually practice this, because it's a very, this syllable business is a very hands-on thing. But let's count the syllables first, and then inshallah after that, when we start reading, then we can figure out where the syllable barriers are or where to stop. Okay. But if you get this right, these questions, then that gives a good indication that you know what you're doing. Okay. So this is the first question. So we have this word. How many syllables is it? So you got 40 seconds, you got 20 seconds for this question. Is it 3 syllables, 4 syllables, 5 or 6? 3, 4, 5 or 6. How many syllables do we have in this word? Okay. Okay. We have 82% of you got it right. Some of you said 4 syllables. La, this is not 4 syllables. This word is not 4 syllables. 4 letters, yes, but not 4 syllables. Here we have yen. So this syllable over here, it consists of a consonant or a voweled letter followed by an unvoweled letter. So yen, tiqu. So it's 3 syllables because this letter has sukoon or it doesn't have haraka. So we need to join it. Yen, tiqu. 3 syllable word. Okay? No problem. Next one. How about this one? How many syllables are there in this word? Okay, don't go by the number of letters, right? Go by the number of syllables. This word seems a lot bigger, doesn't it, than the previous one? But did that make a difference? Seems like those 5 people that did manage to answer it, they got it all right. Okay, so this word is 3 syllables. aqsamtum. Aqsamtum. Okay, so aqsamtum, 3 syllable word. Type. Let's go to the next one. How about this word? وَأَمْتِعَتِكُمْ. How many syllables are there? How many syllables here? Good. This time I got around 12 people that managed to answer. Oh, so it's a difficult one, huh? طيب. The correct answer is 6 syllables. So this one was how many? 6 syllables. So less than half of you got it right. Let's break it down. So wa, that's 1 syllable. 2. T, 3. A, 4. T, another T, 5. Kum, 6. Wa, T, A, T, kum. And they say one of the ways that you can find out if something is a syllable or not is you hum the sound, right? That's how you would hum it, right? And that's why we said that a syllable is the smallest unit of sound. That's why if you were to hum somebody's name, you would be humming according to the syllables in their name. Okay? وَأَمْتِعَتِكُمْ. So maybe next questions, try to hum it in your head and see if it makes sense or not. All right? Next one. How many syllables is this word? How many syllables is this word? I'm sure, inshallah, as we practice, you'll get better and better, inshallah, and the answers will reflect that. So here we have 70% an improvement. All right, let's break it down. A, first syllable. Ja, second. Bet, third. Kum, fourth. A, ja, bet, kum. 4 syllables. A, ja, bet, kum. Okay? Right. This time I'll give you 10 seconds extra, inshallah. Okay? So what is this one? How many syllables? This one should be easier anyway. Inshallah. All right. Let's see your answers. I expect everyone to get this right, inshallah. MashaAllah. Well done. Yes, this is 3 syllables. Okay. Type next one. How about this one? How many syllables is this word? Let me give you a bit of extra time. I think everyone's going to have this one right as well. MashaAllah. Okay. The short words are easy, huh? All right, then how about this one then? How about this one? It's not short, is it? All right, let's see how you done this time. Ooh, okay. This is 6 syllables. I don't know, some people said 3. No. B, that's 1. L, that's 2. C, 3 here. Na, 4. T, 5. Him, 6. بألسنتهم. بألسنتهم. Okay? طيب. All right. Let's go for another one. Okay. Yeah, try and say the word out loud. I mean, you'll only know how to really say, know if it's the syllables if you try to read it. You shouldn't be looking for sukoon and haraka because then you're going to get confused. So try and read the word, and then while you're reading it, like literally read it yourself and see where you're stopping. Naturally, you should be stopping at a syllable, right? If you find yourself reading and then going back in order to accommodate the sukoon because you can't say the sukoon by itself, then you know you made a mistake. All right? I don't expect any of you to read like this and be fine with it. All right? So let's try here. Let's try and read one of the sukoon letters here by itself, and you will automatically know that there's something seriously wrong. So if you were to say, for example, B, A, L, you know that's wrong. I can't say L by itself. So what happens normally, most of the time, is people, they go back. They say B, A, L. When you find yourself doing that, you know you made a mistake. And you know that the syllable ends with the lam. All right? So make sure to have an attempt at reading the word, right? طبعا, if I could get all of you to read it, that would be the best way, inshallah, which we're going to do in the workshop. Inshallah, on Saturday, you're going to actually read. But now, just to get everybody involved, yes, I'm expecting you to have read the word in your head, and then you get the answer right when you choose how many syllables there are. Okay, how about this one? How many syllables in this word? All right, time's up. Ooh, still struggling. No problem. No problem. Keep on practicing this. Wa af I da tu hum. Wa af I da tu hum. Again, wa af. 1 syllable here. I da tu hum. 1 syllable here. Okay, good. Another one. Should be easier this time. Okay. How many syllables in this word? Okay, I really want to know why one of you said 6 syllables. That is one thing that's difficult for me to understand. And I'll tell you why. There are not even 6 letters in this word. So how can it be 6 syllables? Right? There are 5 letters in this word, but these 2 words make 1 syllable, which means it's 4 syllables. Wa, an, za, la. It's not 3 syllables. It's not 3 syllables, 4 syllables. Okay. I mean, practice makes perfect, so we'll just keep on going, inshallah. How about this one? Another long one, mashallah. It looks longer than it is because of the scenes. The scenes are very long letters, so don't get intimidated. And it's not 7 syllables, no. Okay. MashaAllah, يعني a big improvement from before. 88% so far is a good improvement. Okay, let's do this one. As you can see, it is a little bit challenging, isn't it? I mean, I expected all of you to get the hang of it by now, but you can see it's a little bit challenging. All right. Okay. 4 syllables. Ya-mu-ru-kum. Ya-mu-ru-kum. 6-letter word, but only 4 syllables. Because this is 1 syllable and this is 1 syllable. All right. طيب. Another one. How many syllables in this word? I made a lot of these exercises and I thought we're not going to need to do all of them. Just made some extra ones for the sake of it as a backup, but yeah, it's challenging. But inshallah, it's not that difficult. You'll get the hang of it. You see, mashallah, alhamdulillah, massive improvement. We're on 95% now. If all of you get the next question right, let me see. Yeah, if you get this right, all of you, then inshallah we'll call it a day. We'll go to the next exercise, inshallah. Okay. So if all of you get this right, 100%, then inshallah we'll go to the next one. All right. Oh, not yet. Right, let's check it out. Fell, that's 1 syllable. Yes, another syllable. Ta, another syllable. Fifth, another syllable. So even though it's a very long letter, it's only 4 syllables. It's actually 8 letters in here. It's a very long word, sorry, but it's only 4 syllables. In total, 8 letters. But every single syllable here consists of a consonant, vowel, consonant. Okay? Bye. Now, let's do this one as well. This one should be easy, inshallah. I'll keep you at 20 seconds. I'm not going to add extra time here. So make sure you answer quickly. So, wa, antum. Wa, antum. 3 syllables. Now, we can continue a lot more. But instead, what I'm going to do, inshallah, is I'll make this available as a practice assignment, inshallah, that you can do by yourself in your own time. Okay? Mumtaz. There was another exercise that I was planning on doing, but I think we're going to have to do that another time. And it was to do with syllable patterns. All right? This is probably too technical. No need to do this. As long as you know how to end the syllable or where to end it, you're fine. Syllable pattern basically is like, it's a fundamental to Arabic poetry, and it's something that, you know, they teach in schools as well in different languages. And in Arabic, there's only 2 patterns possible. So you can either have a voweled letter, or you can have a voweled letter plus unvoweled letter. That's it. You can't have anything beyond that. Okay, so the possibilities are not massively too much. So either you're going to have a letter with a vowel, that's 1 syllable, or you're going to have a letter with a vowel followed by an unvoweled letter, and that's going to be a syllable. All right, that's it. And when we say voweled, obviously that includes short and long vowels. Okay, so again, the voweled ones, they call these open syllables, open, right? Such as, for example, the examples that we have done earlier today. Let's just grab one of the examples quickly. Let's take this word. So here we have wa, antum, right? So wa, this is an open syllable, right? Wa, open. And this is a closed syllable because the consonant kind of like closes it, right? closes it. This is open. In other words, open, in other words, that if there was a consonant here, it would be open to joining that consonant, but there isn't. So those are only two patterns. Those are the only two possibilities, if you like. So which makes it much easier than English. English, there's many more possibilities. So it's not that difficult, really. All you need to do is look at the letter if it has a vowel. Look at the letter that comes after it. If it's a letter that doesn't have a vowel, then join it, inshallah. And that gives us many different patterns, right? And I was going to do this exercise on it. We'll do 3 questions. Okay? For those of you that didn't feel challenged enough in the previous exercise, we'll do this exercise. We'll do a few questions of it, but it's not that important. It's just very technical, extra technical. But it doesn't make that much a difference to the way you read, right? But let's just do it for the sake of it. Just for the sake of it. So here you have, for example, this word, wala bi'sa. And I'm not sure if you can really see it properly. I didn't add it as a picture here. So I'm not sure if you can read this word, wala bi'sa. So this word, wala bi'sa, it has a pattern, one of these patterns, right? Okay. So if we look at it, we have wa, that's the vowel. No consonant after it. La, another vowel, V. Bi, what does that sound like? That sounds like there's a vowel consonant and then sa. Anyway, I think it's not appropriate. Ignore this one. Let's see. Some of you answered it anyway. Let's see if you got it right. Yeah, 76%. Mashallah, not bad. So it's vowel, 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 consonant, vowel. Okay, wala bi'sa. Okay, let's do another one then, mashallah, since you've done such a good job. Okay, لِحُكْمِهِمْ. What pattern is it? لِحُكْمِهِمْ. Again, this is not important for those of you that don't know how to do it. It's not important. Just to challenge. Just to make sure that the leaderboard today, those that get the highest points, they really deserve it. So, لِحُكْمِهِمْ. What pattern is this? لِحُكْمِهِمْ. لِحُكْمِهِمْ. All right. So yeah, this is vowel, li, huk, which is vowel consonant, mi, which is vowel, him, vowel consonant. All right. One last one. All right. How about this one? لِتَعْجَلَ. 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 Okay. يعني ما شاء الله. You lot did way better than I expected, mashallah. Allahumma barik. Very good. So, li, that's a vowel. Ta, vowel consonant. Ja, vowel. La, vowel. Okay. So obviously, if you have the hang of the previous exercise and you get most of your answers right, then this would be easy, inshallah. But if you are struggling with the previous exercise, then you're probably going to struggle even more with this one. Okay. Bye. Anyway, I suppose we've gone way over time. I was going to do some practice reading, but seems like we're going to have to do that we're going to have to keep that for the workshops. So inshallah on Saturday, we're going to have a workshop once again with the teachers. And yes, inshallah, I'll post these exercises. We're going to have a workshop again with the teachers. And also, we're going to need at least 3 students that will be joining us with a laptop who can present the PowerPoint presentation and also, generally speaking, manage the Zoom class. So the teachers can just give feedback because they're not that technically savvy, some of the teachers, and some of them are joining from their mobile phone. So please, those of you that can do that, please text me on Telegram. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the slides before class and you can get set up, inshallah. And then, maybe even 2 sisters per class can be moderators, no problem, or co-hosts. Because obviously the way we did it on the brother side when I was teaching them is muted everyone and students put their hand up and then I unmute them based on whoever put their hand up first. So that's how we did things. But maybe we'll look at the different workflow whereby we have it's difficult to put attendance list because the attendance is not as rigid as it would be or as it should be. Some students, they attend, some they don't, some can make it, some they can't on different occasions. So that's why we can't have an attendance list and give it to a teacher. It's a bit difficult before class. So anyway, that's one thing. That is one thing I wanted to point out, which I promised to do earlier. I didn't get to, which is I just want to show you how what we're learning now, right? Now we're doing the Sukoon, right? I want to show you what percentage of the Quran you can read now. All of you can remember when we did the revision class, when we finished the letters, I showed you that there are some verses in the Quran that you should be able to read now. Albeit there were not many, but you could read them if you just know the letters. Now having learned short vowels and having learned Sukoon, how much of the Quran do you think you can read now? Actually, I would like to know the answer to that. A WooClap question. All right. So, having learned the voweled, let's say harakat and Sukoon. Now, how much of the Quran do you think you can read? Let's make it open-ended question. Just write down whatever percentage you think it is. All right. How much of the Quran do you think you can read now? All right. And let me put this 1 second. I'm going to change it. The question 1 second. Make it moderator. Okay, there we go. So we learned the harakat and sukoon. So far we've learned all of the letters, all of the short vowels, and the unvoweled letters. So how much of the Quran do you think you can read now? Okay. Let's look at some of the answers. 50%, mashallah. Have I basically given you too high of expectations, mashallah? 50%, some of you said. As a matter of fact, some of you said 60%, 75, 90, half the Quran, a few 4 short surahs. Well, I was looking to surprise you. So going to be underwhelmed now. Well, to say 50% is really ambitious, right? Because you need to know that we still have long vowels to go. We still have shadda to go. We still have tanween to go. We still have so many rules to go. So I'm going to show you a pie chart, right? That shows you a breakdown of exactly how much of the Quran you can read based on a chapter by chapter basis. And it's not 50%, I'm sorry. Okay. And I thought I was going to excite you with this, but alhamdulillah, no problem. So we have this over here. I mean, we have 2 charts here. We have the one that goes by count as in the number of words, right? But this one is more accurate, which goes by frequency. In other words, it also keeps in account that particular word, how many times is being mentioned in the Quran. So it's not just how many words, actually the frequency of the word. So this pie chart is much more accurate. This gives you a proper, accurate picture of how much Quran you can read chapter by chapter. Now, by learning the harakat and harakat only, what we mean by that literally is a letter that does not have any of these other things. It doesn't have hamzatul wasl, it doesn't have shadda, it doesn't have tanween, it doesn't have any med, it doesn't have any sukoon. That's only 3%. Right? But then look how much we unlocked today. Today we unlocked 19% of the Quran. So basically, if you learn how to do your syllables properly and your sukoon and your harakat, you would have gone from, it was negligible where we were at the end of module 1. It was literally nothing. And we done 3%, yes, last lesson. But now look at, you have literally unlocked today, yes, provided that you practice, you would have unlocked almost 1/5 of the Quran, right? And inshallah, next lesson, I'm going to do is the examples are not just going to be words. I'm going to try and look hard and see if I can find a whole ayah, a whole verse in the Quran that only has harakat and sukoon and doesn't have any long vowels. or any of these other more advanced rules, right? Which means if I do find some of those verses, that means you actually are able to read a whole verse by yourself. Okay? Well, that's something that we'll find out. I'm going to try and look and find those verses, inshallah. But yeah, but then also very exciting as well is the next chapter, the med, right? Which is, I'll be honest, the most difficult one, especially for English speakers, right? Which basically is we have the short vowel, then we have the long vowel. Just make sure you differentiate between the two. That's what it's about. But if we get to the end of that one, which maybe should be by the end of next week, we should have done the med and the sukoon and practiced everything. Hopefully you're going to be somewhere here, which is past the halfway mark. Okay, which literally means if you open a mushaf, you open the mushaf on a page of the Quran, you'll be able to read half of it. Yes, on average, which is, I think, an amazing thing to have achieved over the course of 6-7 weeks. Okay, or even less. I'm not sure how long this lesson has been going on. Anyway, so looking forward to inshallah doing the med as well. Next lesson, not next lesson, sorry, on Tuesday. Next lesson is going to be a workshop to make sure all of you perfect this. And by the end of next lesson, inshallah, the workshop, you would have, you'd be able to read, a quarter of the Quran, almost 20, I think it's 23% here. Alhamdulillah. So I just wanted to share that with you. And if you want, I'll send this pie chart as well on the group so you can have a look at it. And hopefully it's something that motivates you going forward, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. Okay. One last thing. Sorry, I really kept you behind today. But this is inshallah even more exciting than what I've shown a second ago. So let me open it up 1 second. So basically, to put things in perspective, so far, when it comes to practice, right, there's 2 ways of practicing, right? You have the practice whereby is a closed-ended practice. The answers are already there and you pick one of the answers. That's what we do in class. That's what we do normally on Google Classroom, right? Because there's no other way to give you an open question. But really, when it comes to reading is an open thing. Reading, when you're reading an ayah, when you're reading a word, you're not picking a word from a list of words, right? You're literally reading. The possibilities are many and you're getting it right because you know the rules. So a big challenge in these kind of courses, which are courses that are very practical, whereby the student needs to create, the student needs to express himself, the student needs to produce, not just recognize, is a big challenge to give the student ways for him to exercise by himself. Really difficult. Or to give him a way whereby he can practice and get feedback, right? We do that in the workshop with teachers. So we have the student reading, teacher gives him feedback. But obviously the workshops, as you know, they are limited, and it might be possible that these workshops might not fulfill the needs of every student. Some students might need a bit more help, a bit more work. So I made this exercise, or this interactive exercise, that you can use to practice by yourself. You can practice reading by yourself and get feedback. Okay. Now it's not voice recognition. Maybe inshallah sometime in the future, if you got some resources and we're capable to do things, then maybe we can look into some kind of application with voice recognition where you say the word and it tells you if it's right or wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's as close as possible as you can get to it, inshallah. So let me share it with you. This is basically what I mean. So it looks exactly the same as the PowerPoint presentations that we gave to the teachers. And you would be able as a student to navigate all by yourself, right? And this will open, inshallah, on any device. So if you open it on a phone, it's going to look like this. You open it on a laptop, it's going to look like this. And you don't need any prior software. It's going to open right within your browser, inshallah ta'ala. So I use this app called iSpring. They gave me a 2-3 week trial. If it's good enough, inshallah, and the students, they love this, then maybe we could look at maybe raising some funds and buying a license so that we can make more of these exercises. But this is how it works basically. So just like the way you do in class, you can choose to start at either level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever level you think you're at. And you go through the words and you try and read it by yourself. You say ayn, and then you say fatha, okay? And then you say the whole word a, and then you're going to hear me pronouncing it. So you're going to get immediate feedback. Okay, so then you can compare what you said to what I've recorded. And you can do the same thing for the next letter. And that way, it's the closest thing you can get to having a teacher sitting right next to you and giving you feedback. So I might not tell you if you are right or wrong, but that's something you can judge for yourself by comparing what you said with what you can hear over here. Okay, then you can go on to stage 2, or you can start from stage 2 if you're at that level. Okay, and then you can do stage 3, or you can start from there if you're at that level. Okay, so you click on it once to see the word, click on it again to hear the word. Okay, so this particular one, there are 15 words here, and inshallah there's more on the way. So I would love to gain your feedback on this, and inshallah if it's a success, then this would be something going forward we would do. And obviously the main benefit, like I said, is that it allows you to practice reading by yourself in your own time and getting immediate feedback without having a teacher sitting right next to you. I mean, it's the closest thing we can get to practicing by yourself without a teacher, inshallah. Right. All right, inshallah. I look forward to seeing all of you on Saturday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.